Conversation. I'm your host, Steve Iverson. If you live in Lexington or a neighboring community, you've seen a bunch of buildings out on Route 2 that you must know is Shire, the second largest biotech company in Massachusetts. And you may have wondered what they do and what goes on over there. So today we have on a guest from Shire. Katie Joyce is the head of U.S. Corporate Affairs and Media Relations for Shire. And we're going to talk about the company and its presence in Lexington. So thanks for coming on, Katie.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
You bet. I have all sorts of questions about Shire, but maybe we could start with just a general question with what do they do? What do you do over there in Lexington?
Well, Shire is the leading biotech company focused on rare diseases in the world. We have about 2,200 employees in Lexington, about 3,000 in Massachusetts, and about 14,000 in the United States. And we're really focused on serving patients where there is a high unmet need. In the rare disease space, that's certainly the case.
Okay. So you focus mostly on treatments for diseases where only a fairly small number of people have them, and at present there aren't that many treatments available.
Absolutely. And in fact, while individual rare diseases are in fact rare, there are over 350 million people in the world who live with a rare disease. And of those people, there are only about 5% of which that have a therapy that addresses that disease. So there really is a high unmet need in that patient population, and many of those patients are children.
I see. Okay. Why Lexington? What brought Shire to Lexington and made you decide to sort of set up shop here?
Sure. Well, back in the early 2000s, Shire wasn't actually in Massachusetts. They purchased a company called HGT, and with that, Shire came to Massachusetts. They were first in Cambridge, and then when they were looking to grow, they looked at Lexington. They worked with the state, with the new life sciences bill at the time, and decided that they needed to be in Massachusetts where there was a talented workforce, and there were a lot of other great biotech companies, and the ecosystem here was just the perfect place to be. They've grown considerably. We've grown considerably from that 300-400 people to the 3,000 people here in Massachusetts. But being in Lexington has been wonderful for Shire. We're able to attract a highly educated workforce. We have a great relationship with the town, and we couldn't be happier with it.
And I understand that you also have space in Kendall Square. You mentioned the value of being near biotechs, other biotech activity, and I know Kendall Square is very much that for Massachusetts.
Absolutely.
How big is the operation in Kendall Square?
Well, right now the operation in Kendall Square is about 400 people. It's right in the heart of Kendall. We will be moving into another building close by there, so we will have what we're calling an R&D hub in the Kendall Square area coming online in the next couple of years.
Okay. So R&D will be focused over there, and I think you mentioned when we were talking earlier that there'll be some focuses in Lexington. What will they be?
Sure. So in Lexington, we have a number of buildings now, and we do a lot of our manufacturing here. We also are doing a lot of our work on digital health technologies. As you can imagine, with the explosion of digital health technologies and how important it is for patients to track their medicine, make sure that they're monitoring their disease, that they can talk to their care providers. We're working on a lot of innovative ways to work with patients, and so a lot of that IT work and technology work will be done here in Lexington, as well as the manufacturing. Currently, we have 4 buildings on Shire Way, and we also just opened 95 Hayden, 45 Hayden, and 55 Hayden. So we'll have a number of people here continuing to do the great work that they've been doing for years here in Lexington.
Okay. And I think you alluded to the fact that there's still a lot of employees for Shire outside of Massachusetts. Is that correct? And where do they tend to be located mostly? Sure.
Well, Shire acquired Baxalta last year, which really grew our footprint. Yeah. Prior to that acquisition, we had a little over 5,000 employees globally, and now we have more than about 24,000 employees globally. So that was a huge growth, of course. And with that came a number of sites across the United States. One is in Covington, Georgia, where we have a very large manufacturing facility that is not yet online, will be online soon. We have some facilities in California, as well as Chicago and Bannockburn.
Okay.
And Pennsylvania, I shouldn't forget Pennsylvania. We've got a great presence in Exton, which is where Shire was initially in the United States.
And those are all manufacturing facilities as well?
No, not all manufacturing. In Exton, we do a lot of our finance, HR systems are in Exton. Bannockburn has some of our commercial and also our BioLife plasma centers there. We are in immunology, and a lot of our therapies you need plasma, and so we have plasma centers around the United States where we collect plasma from donors, and then a lot of that back office operations happens in Chicago. California is manufacturing.
I see. Okay. So, do many of your employees live in Lexington as well as working in Lexington?
Yes, I think we have a number of employees who do live in Lexington, and certainly over 100 the last time that we checked. And they are as well. Not even just the folks who are living in Lexington, but those that are coming to work every day are using the restaurants and the other businesses that are in town. And we're very proud of our relationship with the Lexington Chamber of Commerce as well as the town to be sure that we are good neighbors and that we're contributing to the well-being of the community here.
Right. No, I imagine having Shire in town here with so many people means that there's a lot of other kind of commercial activity taking place, as you mentioned, with restaurants and shopping and such. And it sounds like it's probably a good relationship from both sides.
Absolutely. We think so. We try and be good neighbors and want to be sure that we are contributing. We do a lot of work with some of the schools in the area, the Cotting School, the Community Therapeutic Day School. We have a great global day of service at Shire, and this year over 1,500 of our Massachusetts employees went out and volunteered in the community. And some of those sites were in Lexington, others were scattered, from Boston up through Merrimack Valley. And we're really trying to be sure that our employees are giving back.
What was the volunteer day like? What did people do? What kind of activities were there?
It was great. We had people volunteering at a science fair at the Cotting School. We had people helping build playground sets at the Community Therapeutic Day School. Sometimes we just painted to spruce things up. It was a whole range, a lot of cleanup activities, but people really loved that day. They loved having the day to, instead of being at their desk, they were out there with the community. They're working with children or really doing something that will benefit children, because really our corporate philosophy when it comes to philanthropic giving is serving those children with high unmet needs. It plays into the rare disease space certainly,
Sure.
but helping children overcome odds. And so we try to look at opportunities that would allow our employees to do that.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that these are examples of philanthropic activities. Are there any others? Is that pretty much covered? Are there any others you'd like to mention that you're involved in?
Sure. So those are the Lexington-specific ones. We also have partnered with Serious Fun, which is a camp for children with serious illnesses. So the camps have doctors and nurses on staff. And we've
It's called Serious Fun?
Serious Fun,
Okay.
yes, yeah. And we send employees every year now for the last couple of years to volunteer for the week. It's great for our employees. They get to work with children. It's great for the camps because they get employees who are used to working with patients in a lot of ways. So we're trying to do a lot of that connecting for our team because we find that a lot of our employees really do want to give back, and we just want to find a great way to do it. So that's a wonderful opportunity that we're giving folks. We're also working with Life Science Cares, which is an organization that is run out of Cambridge, that they're working to organize biotechs to be sure you are giving back in the community, and we'll be hosting a tutoring program with them in our Cambridge office this year. So we're always looking for opportunities like that to engage with the community. Certainly from a financial standpoint we are supportive, but we want to be sure that we're also there on the ground and having our employees give back as well.
Right. How much time is that a once a year thing where people might spend a week or so doing something, or is it also on and off throughout the year?
Sure. So the Global Day of Service is one day a year. Certainly we're working with employees to give back at different times. The tutoring program that I mentioned will be every other Wednesday for about an hour and a half. So there are absolutely opportunities for employees to do more. And we know that a lot of our employees are doing things on their own time. In fact, our technical operations group, which is our manufacturing team, which is over on Shire Way, they've worked very closely with Middlesex Community Community College, with the Vocational Technical School, Minuteman Voc Tech, and other schools in the area to help build the curriculum around life sciences, to be sure that they're bringing in real-world experience. And we're thrilled that they do it. It isn't part of their job description, but we want them to do it, and they want to do it, to be sure that they're giving back to the community, but also helping to develop the next generation of biotech employees.
Yeah, I would think that Shire might draw in those places for employees at times for certain types of jobs.
Absolutely.
Is that accurate?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We have great partnerships with some community colleges in the area and workforce training programs in the area, to be sure that people are trained. You know, biotech manufacturing is a very highly skilled manufacturing, and so people need to be trained on it. We also have a donation program where we donate some of our surplus equipment and supplies to local schools, both high school age as well as at community college and four-year colleges, to be sure that the equipment that the students are training on is actually the equipment they would use in a real world scenario, and they get that experience there and they can take it to a job.
I imagine that would be extremely valuable, because
Yeah.
I think sometimes in an educational setting, not everywhere certainly, but occasionally students will be learning on sort of the previous generation of equipment.
Exactly.
And then they catch up when they graduate and they actually go out into the real world.
Exactly.
So that's that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we take a brief break?
Sure.
And when we come back, we'll continue talking to Katie Joyce from Shire about the company and its activities here in Lexington.
Hey,
Hey.
is everything all right?
Yeah, of course.
You were never a good liar.
I mean, he's finally locked up. We saved the day. I'm fine.
Sure. Just tell me what's going on.
I don't know.
You don't know what?
I don't know what to do next. Everything's different now.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you have to be.
But I am. So are you. I just wish. Have you been filming vertically the entire time? Dude, this is a movie, okay? This is cinema. It's not your sister's piano recital.
Oh.
Turn the thing sideways.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Oh. Sorry.
Welcome back. It's In Conversation. We're talking again with Katie Joyce, the head of U.S. Corporate Affairs and Media Relations for Shire Incorporated here in Lexington. Katie, before the break, I thought of something that we mentioned earlier, but maybe you could expand on a bit. You mentioned something called, I think, a life science initiative here in Massachusetts that had some role in your decision to move some of your resources here to Massachusetts. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? It sounds like an interesting initiative.
Sure. So when Shire was thinking about what their next move was in about 2006, 2007, at the same time the state was thinking about how we can retain biotech companies here in Massachusetts, recognizing that they are a source of good jobs for Massachusetts residents, as well as the important work they do for patients, of course. And so Shire started talking with the state and trying to figure out if there was a good public-private partnership to be had. And the state came up with the Life Sciences Initiative, which was a 10-year, $1 billion investment into the life sciences ecosystem in Massachusetts. And the funding would go towards early stage companies, it would go towards capital infrastructure costs, and it would go towards making sure we had the workforce appropriate to fill the jobs that are here. And when Shire started having these conversations, they realized that they could do some great work with the state. And in return for a number of different tax incentives, Shire would create jobs here in Lexington. And since then, it's been 10 years now. Shire continues to have a very good relationship with the state and is a proof point for how public-private partnerships can work. Shire has committed to certain job growth, and every time it has taken tax incentives, it has met or exceeded those job commitments. And Shire has also spent about $800 million in capital expenditures here in Massachusetts, most of which has been here in Lexington, also producing jobs in the state, whether it's construction jobs, the whole host of secondary jobs that come with that sort of investment. So it was a great partnership. It continues to be a good partnership. Governor Baker has just introduced the next generation of the Life Sciences Initiative that we are hopeful will pass the legislature. So we look forward to this continued partnership.
Okay, good. Thank you. And so you've got a lot of employees, a lot of jobs over at the Shire. What kind of jobs are they, and what kind of backgrounds do people have when they get hired at Shire?
Sure.
Start working there.
Absolutely. So one of the great things about Shire in Massachusetts is, we have a very broad employee base and talent base. We do research and development in Massachusetts, which is critical to the work that happens here and to our patients. But we also have finance people. We have lawyers. We have manufacturing technicians. We have people in the communications department like myself. So really, we are looking for people with a range of skills and a range of backgrounds. Certainly those that are doctors and scientists, but also those folks that have, arts and sciences degrees. We have a commercial sales team. We have facilities teams for all of our buildings. You can imagine to keep up the many buildings that we do have here in Lexington, it takes a number of people with a varied skill set, and we're very proud to have that diversity within our offices here.
Are you the biggest employer in Lexington? Do you know? I have absolutely no idea whether that might be the case or not, but you're big.
It's a good question. I'm not sure that we are. If we are not, I would think that we're very, very close to one of the largest employers in Lexington.
Must certainly at least be one of the largest, yeah. Okay, and do you attract talent through particular pipelines or sources, or from all over the place?
Sure. So we're fortunate, again, one of the reasons to be in Massachusetts is there is this great workforce. We have a great education system. We have fantastic colleges and universities and research institutions. So in the biotech industry, there's a number of places to go, and there's a lot of employees to choose from. But that doesn't mean that we don't have to go out and make sure that people are trained specifically in the work that we're doing. And a good example of that is our manufacturing facilities. Biotech manufacturing is a highly skilled form of manufacturing. And as I mentioned before, we want to be sure people are trained on that so that when they come into Shire, they can hit the ground running. And so we, as I mentioned, have a lot of partnerships with high schools, with community colleges, to make sure that the curriculum that the students are learning is applicable, not just at Shire, but at any biotech company they're going to, so that there isn't that disconnect between what they're learning in school and what they would see in a real-world situation.
I think of Middlesex Community College, which I believe has a substantial biotech program. Is that true?
I believe so.
I'm not just making that up.
Yeah.
So you might attract candidates from there. Okay, and I would imagine that employees are drawn from all over the world for some of your positions.
Yep. for sure. We have employees that, were born and raised here in Massachusetts, and we have employees that are coming to us every day from all around the world. Our international operational headquarters is in Zug. We have another headquarters in Dublin, Ireland, and we have employees in 65 countries around the globe. And depending on their jobs and depending on the trajectory of their career, they could relocate to Massachusetts, certainly. We did in 2014, when Massachusetts became the U.S. operational headquarters for Shire. We relocated about 500 jobs from Pennsylvania here. And so we did see a lot of people come and decide to relocate permanently to Massachusetts. And some of them chose Lexington or the surrounding communities.
Yeah, I would imagine people would live all throughout the area. Housing, as in many towns in this part of the state, is on the expensive side in Lexington. Only getting more expensive, unfortunately. But so I imagine people settle in all different spots.
Well, one of the benefits of being in Lexington is, you could settle in Lexington, which is obviously a great community, but there are a number of communities a little further to the north, south, or west that you can also settle in, because you're not driving, into Boston every day, so your commute isn't what it would be. Like I said, we have a diverse employee base. We have employees who work in Cambridge. We have employees that work in Lexington, and people certainly have different preferences. But we do have a number of employees who come from further west, because the commute is not that much of a challenge when you're in Lexington.
Okay. It's a convenient location with two highways intersecting.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. And do you have events? Do you have job events there where you bring people in from, say, Middlesex or some other school, or is it does that happen at all, or do you attract people in other ways?
Well, typically our HR team attracts people in different ways, but we do try and bring students in to see the facility as much as we can, and we do that through our partnerships with Minuteman, with Mass Bio Ed, which is a nonprofit organization that does a lot of work in making sure that students are trained for the jobs in the biotech industry, and through that program is how we ended up bringing in about 20 students from Minuteman last year. They came in, they looked at the manufacturing facilities, they looked at some of our R&D development labs. It was great. They had a wonderful experience, and we talked about all the different jobs that were available here. So we typically bring students in to see that, and then in terms of jobs, we have a great website. If people are interested in working at Shire, it will list all the jobs by location, and we would encourage people to apply.
Okay. And I know you also wanted to at least mention a couple of the newer buildings that you built and their green certifications and so on. Feel free to tell us a little bit more about that as well.
Sure. So, as I mentioned, since coming to Lexington, Shire has, we have a number of buildings. Initially, it started with 300 and 500 Shire Way. Years ago, they built 200 and 400 Shire Way, which are both LEED certified buildings.
And what does LEED certified mean?
So it means they meet a certain criteria with their energy efficiency and being environmentally friendly. Mm-hmm. Same thing with 95 Hayden, 45 and 55 Hayden, making sure that we have these certifications to show that we are committed to being environmentally responsible is important to Shire. And we do that through alternative energy sources, solar panels, encouraging carpooling, and we have making sure that bikes are secure. We have bike racks everywhere in case people want to ride their bikes to work. Efficient water systems, even efficient printing. If you print something and then you just forget to get it, how much paper does that waste? So we've got efficient systems where it doesn't print until you actually go over to pull it out of the printer. So it's small things like that add up to helping reduce our environmental footprint, and it's something that is important to Shire.
Okay. And how long have you been there now? And what did you do before that? What's your own background?
Sure. So I've been at Shire about 2 years now. Mm-hmm. Prior to this, my longer career was in government service and politics.
Oh.
So quite the change. As I said, we can.
That is quite the
Shire
change.
has people from all different backgrounds and appreciates their skills that they can bring from different areas.
Did you focus in a particular area in working in government?
Pretty much a generalist.
Generalist.
Very much a generalist,
Okay.
yes.
But in communications?
Part of it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you moved to private industry.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's different, a lot of the same. You can translate a lot of what I learned there here, but there are certainly some differences, but it's been a great experience. And working with a company like Shire, where you are very much focused on patients and everything that you do, whether you're in communications or whether you're in R&D, is keeping patients front of mind, front and center, in trying to give back. Similar is in my experience in government, is that you're always thinking about what government can do for people. So it wasn't, in terms of that mindset, it wasn't that big of a shift.
One thing that might have been a little different, and you tell me if this is correct, is Shire is working on a highly regulated environment, and perhaps that affects communications, I suppose. As we've learned recently on a national level, communications in government can be quite sort of freewheeling. And I would imagine there are more restrictions when you're working in the biotech space for various reasons.
Sure. We have to be very careful. Certainly, the therapies that we make, they go to patients, and we need to make sure that the information that we're sharing is accurate and timely at all times with our patients. And so, and rightly so, it's a highly regulated industry given the work that we do. So yes, we are, I suppose, now more highly regulated than maybe what you're hearing on TV or on social media these days from other areas.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. And finally, we just have a couple of minutes left. What do you see as the future for Shire as over the next 5 years or even more than that? Do you plan to get bigger in any way, move into other areas?
Mm-hmm. So I think that the transformation for Shire for over the last year and a half has been very significant. Going from 5,000 employees to 24,000 employees, seemingly overnight, has been a big move. But I think that
enormous change.
Enormous, right. But I think Shire has managed it very, very well and integrated the two businesses together seamlessly to create this rare disease leader, which is who Shire is. And we'll continue focusing on rare diseases. As I mentioned, when you have so many people in the world suffering with rare diseases, and very few therapies to treat them, we all have a long way to go, and we want to continue down that path and looking where the unmet need is and really going to that space and trying to make a difference there. So I think Shire will have a very strong focus on rare diseases going forward. In terms of being bigger, I don't really know. We'll see what comes forward. But again, if we keep the eye on the patient and making sure that whatever moves we make as a business keep those patients in mind, I think we'll do very well, and we'll continue to have a very strong presence here in Massachusetts and specifically Lexington, because this is where the workforce is, and it's where the people are who are doing the critical work that we need in order to deliver for patients.
You need the talent to come into the building and do the work.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Katie, for coming on and talking about Shire. And, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's a big presence in town, but depending on who you're talking to, people might not know all that much about it, and if they've watched the show, they'll know quite a bit more now.
Great. Well, thank you for having me.
It's a good thing. You're quite welcome. It's a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
You bet.